Do you know? Do you know?
Recently, there has been a great discussion on the undervaluation of the yuan. But how does the undervaluation of the yuan affect global economies? China is a rising economic giant, and its growth is tremendous that it has the ability to impact the world. Any measures implemented in the country can be felt internationally. Furthermore, globalization has led to many countries being actively involved in international trading, causing them to be interdependent on one another. The devaluation of the yuan will thus definitely be of concern to many countries, and in this video, we will be seeing the impact of the undervalued yuan on the globe through the 4 economic goals, namely price stability, unemployment rate, economic growth, and last but not least, the balance of trade, also known as the BOP. But what does the devaluation of a currency mean? Well, devaluation of a currency is when its value decreases from its official value rapidly and rarely returns back to its previous value. So, in the case of China, the yuan is undervalued as it is constantly kept at a fixed rate that is very low. But how does China keep her yuan at a fixed rate? This is how they do it. Firstly, the US importers sell dollars for yuan to buy Chinese goods as they are relatively cheaper than domestic goods, causing the US dollars to get weaker from an increase in supply. However, China turns around and sells those yuan to buy up the supply of dollars, so that the supply and demand relationship in net remains unchanged. Hence, the value of yuan and US dollars turns out the same. This helps China to keep their currency fixed at their target exchange rate, which is undervalued. Now, let's zoom in into the impact of inflation due to undervalued yuan. What is inflation? Inflation is a situation where there is an sustained increase in general price level of goods and services. This can be illustrated in the following example, where the staff peak point represents general goods produced by different countries. Due to the undervalued yuan, the value of the US dollars is higher. As a result, when US goods are being exported into China, the price of US goods will become more expensive in terms of yuan, which result in low demand. More Chinese consumers would rather purchase their own domestically produced goods as they are cheaper. They will continue to purchase the Chinese goods, which may lead to a price increase, also known as inflation. As shown from the graph, the large demand for China's goods would cause the demand curve to cut the graph at the intermediate range. Hence, when the Chinese citizens increase their current spending, the demand for the Chinese goods will increase. When this happens, the AD curve will shift towards the right from AD0 to AD1, hence raising the price from P0 to P1. If this trend continues, there will be a continuous rightward shift in the AD, causing further increase in price, for which the trend is known as demand pull inflation.
To curb the inflation, the People's Bank of China, also known as the central bank, wants to encourage its citizens to deposit more of their incomes to savings, to provide stronger capital foundation, and also to reduce domestic consumption, therefore hoping that this will reduce inflation in China. However, inflation fears prompt the Chinese citizens to increase present spending because they fear that postponement may lead to loss of purchasing power. The increase in present spending thus leads to further increase in demand for China's goods, which thus raise the price even more, aggravating the problem of inflation. In addition, a cheap yuan makes Chinese goods cheap relative to the rest of the world. Cash has been pouring into China's economy due to the huge demand for their inexpensive goods, which increases the export revenue of China. This increases China's money supply, resulting in more money held by the Chinese citizens. The Chinese will hence have more money to buy goods and services, increasing their purchasing power. With a higher purchasing power, the Chinese would be able to buy more and more goods, which fuels inflation. Due to the cheap goods China produces, many American consumers want to buy the Chinese goods too. Hence, USA imports many goods from China to meet with the rising demand. The American producers will be at a disadvantage as there will be lesser demand for their goods. To compete with the cheap Chinese goods, the American producers might decrease the prices of their goods to attract more consumers. Once they lower the prices of their goods, more Americans will buy their goods. This leads to deflation in America due to competition for businesses. What about other countries? Other countries would also face a similar problem as the USA. They would also try to reduce their prices to attract more consumers, leading to deflation. Now, let's talk about how unemployment in the different economies are being affected by the undervaluation of the yuan. Since the goods produced in China is cheaper, the Chinese citizens and other consumers in other countries will be unwilling to purchase the more expensive American goods. This may cause unemployment in America as the demand for the goods decrease. Since labor is a derived demand, unemployment will occur and unemployment figures will increase.
More Americans are also out of jobs because more American companies are setting up factory outlets in China due to the cheap labor, land, and the abundant resources there. This benefits China as more job opportunities are created for them, while millions of Americans are being retrenched. However, not all American companies will be badly affected. More luxury goods are being exported from the USA into China due to China's growing economy. Even though USA's export will be more expensive because of the undervalued yuan, the Chinese workers now have higher wages, which increases their disposable incomes and their purchasing power. This increases their desire for luxury goods such as branded bags from the USA. USA's industry exporting luxury goods will thus benefit as there is an increase in demand for the luxury items. With an increase in demand, there is a need for more American workers to produce more luxury goods to supply to China, hence decreasing the unemployment rate in the USA. At the same time, unemployment figures in China will decrease as more people are demanding for cheaper Chinese goods, and labor is needed to produce more goods in order to meet with the rising demand. As such, more people in China are being hired. In addition, the cheap labor in China will attract many other countries, and more countries will want to hire the Chinese workers due to their low pay. This also increases the Chinese employment opportunities. Countries with cheap labor like Bangladesh and Vietnam may experience a slight increase in unemployment as a low yuan will make hiring China laborers cheaper. And many countries, especially the US, would rather hire Chinese workers. Now, let's move on to economic growth. Economic growth is the increase in per capita gross domestic product, also known as GDP, and refers only to the quantity of goods and services produced. Firstly, Singapore's economy will be badly affected. Singapore is a small country with a low population. Japan has a population of about 127,288,416 people. Indonesia, 237,512,352 people. USA, 303,824,640 people. India, 1,147,995,904 people. And China, 1,330,044,544 people. And how does Singapore compare? There, Singapore is just a small speck on the map of China, with just about 4.8 million people. This makes China 277 times more than Singapore. Our economic market is very small, and our company cannot depend on our people alone to sustain their businesses. Only domestic market accounted for only about 3.4% of our total GDP, showing that our economy is largely export-driven. In order to reach out to more people and sell our goods at an international level,
Singapore has to export goods to sustain its economy. If the value of Chinese yuan is kept low, then Singapore will lose its competitive edge, as it is unable to offer more attractive prices compared to China goods. This will cause Singapore to experience a drop in export levels, which will severely stagnate our economy, one that is extremely dependent on exports.
On the other hand, the undervaluation of the yuan makes China's exports cheaper and their imports more expensive. This increases the demand for China's exports from foreign countries. When there's increase in demand, more goods are being produced to meet the rising demand. Since economic growth refers to the quantity of goods and services produced, an increase in the production of Chinese goods would mean an economic growth for China. Last but not least, we have balance of payment. As seen from the equation, AD is equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M, with X minus M being the net export. When X minus M increases, AD will also increase since X minus M is a component of the AD curve, assuming that the price elasticity of demand PED for the country's export and import is price elastic. An undervalued yuan also has an impact on the balance of payment. Balance of payments is a comprehensive record of international receipts and international payment between the resident and government of a country and the rest of the world over a period of time, usually a calendar year. The undervaluation of the yuan has made Chinese goods cheaper and increasing the sales of Chinese goods. China exports more goods and imports lesser goods. China's export revenue will increase while its imports expenditure will decrease. Money is flowing out of China at a slower rate than money coming into China. This caused the net export X minus M to increase for China, causing China to have a surplus. On the contrary, the USA has been having a current account deficit as their import expenditure is more than their export revenue, due to the undervalued yuan. We must also remember that the undervaluation of the yuan not only affects the economy, but also the material and non-material standard of living of citizens. Although our essay mainly touches on the implication of the economy, such as general price level, which will directly impact the material standard of living, we should not forget that the non-material aspect of life may also be affected. For example, when the unemployment rate rises, there will be social costs such as stress, as people are unable to cope financially. Countries that experience economic growth may require their workers to work longer hours, and the opportunity cost is leisure time. With lesser time to relax, workers' non-material standard of living will fall. In conclusion, the government of different countries must implement policy based on their own country's traits and try to alleviate the problem of an undervalued yuan. Whether or not the situation will be solved, we shall see.
When the world has dealt its cards, if the hand is hard, together we'll make your heart. 'Cause I'm singing in the rain, we're singing in the rain, what a glorious feeling, I'm happy again. I'm laughing at clouds so dark.